Your 20s are everything they tell you they are and more, and that's why all of us feel so lost. This is a segment of life I like to call the time we find ourselves again and again. So, if you're feeling lost in your 20s, this is a video for you. So, I'm 28. I'm, I'm over here. Yeah, no, just right, uh, right there. Yep. Technically, I turned 28 on Friday, but I don't know if I've uploaded this on Thursday or Friday. So maybe by the time you're seeing this is early. But I I lived that year, so it's already counted. Patience is a virtue. I used to be very proud of being such a patient person with others. I'm still very patient with those around me, but I've lessened my exposure to those around me who need so much patience. Being a patient person to others isn't a flaw by any means. I think, in fact, it should be celebrated. I have, however, come to the conclusion that patience with yourself is more important than patience with others. Without such, we'd never accomplish long-term goals that we have set up for ourselves. I decided to, I want to bring the mic closer. I decided to challenge myself this year with the concept of just going to the gym for 3 months straight. I wanted to lose a certain amount of weight. I wanted to meet a certain body goal, hit certain body standards. And along the way, looking for advice, looking for tips on what to do, what to train, you kind of end up in that pipeline that you don't really want to be in, which is the workout bro pipeline. And inside of the workout bro pipeline, you might find yourself situated in a lot of things that can reinforce like toxic behaviors, negative behaviors that don't help you in the long run. Thinking that you can drop an increased amount of weight very quickly and then not have any like negative side effects. You can really mess up your body. You could have a rebound episode where you kind of just snap back into what you used to be, but worse. And there's so many like negative things behind it. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was also combat this. I did a 30-day challenge for myself whenever I wanted to make myself enjoy running. And in the effort of trying to enjoy running, I was also trying to make it so it was more of a habit rather than something that I was doing just for the sake of the challenge. I took the same mindset for this challenge. I need to do this. I need to enjoy doing this. I need to enjoy working out. And I already enjoyed working out, but I wanted to make it a habit in my life, something that I was like actively pursuant in and something that I had a healthy relationship with. With that, it takes time. And I'm somebody who's very stuck in the idea of perfectionism and what it takes to be perfect, even though that I know perfect doesn't exist. But I find myself in many areas of life trying to get the perfect something out of myself. And as a result, I have found that over the course of my life, I was not patient enough with myself, and my perfectionism had a lot more power. It made it so whenever I started something, I would look at somebody who's been doing something for 7 years, such as working out, and think, why don't I have the same results as this guy that's been doing it for 7 years? And obviously you're not gonna have the same results as the guy that's been doing it for 7 years, or the girl that's been doing it for 5. You're going to have to like eat dirt and find out all of the information on your own and see what works best for you and your body type and your lifestyle. I'm in a park and there's so much happening. Trying to combat perfectionism, you need to understand that like giving yourself patience and not giving so much patience to every single person around you is really important. Like, do I think you should give patience to those around you? Yes, absolutely. But I also probably would have to say that at this point in my life, would have to say that maybe you do need to take a step back from the friends you hang out with or the things that you involve yourself in if it's reducing the amount of patience that you have for yourself. This is a quick break to make a note. A large percentage of you are viewing but not subscribed. It would really help my channel out if you subscribe, and you will get more videos like this. Videos like me trying to give you advice on how to navigate the world, and videos that are maybe more philosophical about things like the fear of love and understanding what it's like to chase your dreams after being fed so much of a life that you didn't feel like was your own. And sometimes we may get a little political because I do want to talk about planned obsolescence or the state of the prison industrial complex. But it's all very much from a philosophical lens because deep down in my heart, I really just want to be a philosopher. So if you like any of the things I just mentioned before, please subscribe, like, comment, say hello. I love to say hello back. We talk here in the community. So join us. Understanding who's a friend and who's not. So at the end of the day, everybody is not your friend. For a lot of people, that's disheartening to hear. But understanding where to place people in your life is such a crucial skill to have in love, life, and work. There's so many different ways to categorize friends out there. But for me, it really helped to move to a new state, to understand more about the values that I hold dear in friendships. And so for me now, it's a harder principle for someone to be called a friend of mine. An acquaintance, yeah, and I've had to learn to differentiate between an acquaintance, a friend, and somebody you just know. They're all very different, and in a lot of instances, people are just reflections of pieces of you. And while it's important to have reflections of you that you want to see so that you can well that piece of you, it's also important to carve out friendships that really build you into the way that you want to be built. Not in the sense of like 5 of the closest friends are the way that you're defined. I don't care about that. You could have 3 close friends and this rule wouldn't apply to you because it doesn't make sense because you don't really make friends easily, or you just have a more strict like thing about what your friend is. Narrowing down what you define as a friend can alleviate a lot of pain. It can get you away from a lot of issues that you would otherwise not have to deal with if you narrow down the process of like what a friend is and what you find dear in a friend. I watched a video very recently and it was about a chicken noodle soup friend. And for me, that is how I define a lot of like my close, endearing friendships. A chicken noodle soup friend is a friend who essentially would bring you chicken noodle soup when you were sick, but it's not just that, it's more of the thoughtful actions involved in such a scenario. It's a friend who is thoughtful, caring, one friend that you can just sort of go through life with and not really have to shy away from crying next to or crying to or asking for help from. This is a like very particular sort of friend, but it is a endearing, long-lasting, and heavily cultivated friendship. This chicken noodle soup friend doesn't always have to be a reoccurring person in your life. Maybe you only see them every 2 or 3 months because that's a part of being in your 20s. Your friendships kind of just break out and you're like, yeah, can I see you in possibly October? And you asked in May. And that's just what it is. The chicken noodle soup friend is somebody that you know that at the end of the day you can just call on and they will make the time for you. Consistency is great, but routines make it easier. I think you need to be honest with yourself about the idea that the less things that are in the way, the less things that are blocking your path, the easier something is to accomplish. So essentially, the less friction, the better. Routines make all of this worlds easier. How you start your day, how you end your day, how you set yourself up for lunch, how you set your day up as a whole all have impacts on what it is you're after. I've made a few routines here and there. I have a go to get up and wash my face routine, a go to before you go to sleep, wash your face and apply these things to it routine. And outside of those routines, I've added things like going to the gym consistently and trying to find a time that works best for me. This one hasn't really fallen into a routine, but it's a work in progress. And it helps me stay consistent, knowing that soon I will have a time frame that works the best for me and a location that works the best for me. Currently, I go to Planet Fitness. It's what I can afford. It's where I go. So with that, I have the ability to choose different locations. And because of that, varying times, varying locations have a different amount of people And I'm trying to go when I'm just at the point where there's not too many people, but not too few. I still want to build that sense of community, but I also don't want every single bench to be taken and every single machine to be taken. Routines can be something as simple as your structured way of going to the gym, what you plan on eating, what you plan on, what time you plan on sleeping, what time you plan on waking up. Routines sound mundane and monotonous, but they are really, really important. They help us get a lot of things done. With a routine, you know what to expect from your day-to-day outcomes. With a routine, you know what it is you're gonna eat. Maybe you have a routine meal plan and it's something that's not like crazy. You have the ability to shift it up. You know that you have the ability, but you do always know that at a certain time you're gonna eat. So for me personally, I have an alarm set. At this time, this is a reminder, hey, you should go eat lunch. I tend to forget to eat lunch, not because I'm not hungry and not because I am trying to avoid eating lunch, but simply because of the fact that I work myself into a sort of hole. And then I'm like, no, I'm still working on this thing. I've got to get this thing done. And by the time the thing is ready to be done, it's way later and lunch becomes dinner. And yeah, so I think that routines, structure, adding structure to your day allows for consistency to flow with a much greater ease. With consistency, you are able to basically create shortcuts because everybody doesn't have consistency and everybody doesn't have routine. So, with routine, with consistency, you are one step ahead of so many others. Life is short and somehow so long. Basically, there's still time. I have friends who just turned 30 and they're still having the same frustrations as friends who are 25. I have friends who are 21 and very successful, but they still feel like they are so very behind. The truth is, no one knows what they're doing. No one has a clue what's going on. And life is, no one has a clue what's going on. And life is so much longer than we give it credit for, especially as like humans have advanced. Like our life expectancy went from maybe 30 to the ripe old age of like we have people living until they're 118. It's like the duality of all of this. And while I added the notion that life is short because life should not be taken for granted, life is short in those ways. There are segments of your life that you will wish you gave more of yourself to. There are areas in life and time frames in life that you are going to wish you had spent more doing something different instead of the thing that you were doing. There's so little time and so much time all at once. Life is so very long. Your 20s are a huge gap in time. They are a lengthy amount of time. They take up so much development. And everything that you felt you learned in your teens, you're just gonna relearn again. Everything that you feel like you should know, you're gonna have to find out that you don't know. A lot of things that you wanna figure out before you're 30, you just might not. And that is okay because to be totally honest, 30 is still young because people live until they're 118. People change their careers at the age of 40. Everything that you decided when you became 20 may no longer be the thing you want to do. You might change your career. You might decide that you don't want to pursue the dream that you were pursuing originally because you found that the things that you were chasing weren't even things that you wanted for yourself. It was just things that the world told you you needed. There's so many conflicting elements that happen in your 20s. There is so much life to be lived in your 20s. One thing I'm begging you to do is just understand that you have so much time. I'm only 28, so I can't speak to the completion of my 20s just yet. I'm still finishing out my late 20s. So this is more of a note for anyone in their early 20s that's headed to their mid to late 20s and anyone in their late 20s that's just trying to figure it out. You have time. Be consistent and have routines. Be consistent and have routines. Be patient with yourself. Evaluate who you call your friends and just remember that nobody has it all figured out, even if they seem like they do.